So are you ready for rapid fire?
I'm always ready for rapid fire, baby.
Right, baby.
You sent this email a little earlier than usual. At least it felt like it was. It was 11-ish in the morning.
I had my doctor's appointment today, so I wanted to make sure that I got them to you, and didn't stiff you, by not letting you know too late in the afternoon. So
I was reading through them, and I was getting a little fired up prior to lunch. Like that's
where
I was with some of these questions. So I'm ready to go, man. I'm excited.
All right. Okay, so here we go. After watching the college football playoff championship game the other night, would it be acceptable if Notre Dame were to make the playoffs next year, but get smoked the way TCU did?
So does that mean they won their first round game and they get smoked in the national championship game?
I knew you'd ask me to differentiate. Let's just say, yeah, for the sake of art. They get to the national championship game, and then they get smoked by Georgia or whoever it happens.
Well, and the reason I asked for the differentiation is because if they go to the Final Four and they get smoked in the semifinal round like that, they've made no progress. Like that's no progress made.
Well, but you've missed the playoffs the last 2 years. So are we saying because they've already made the playoffs in the past twice,
right.
And you lost lopsided games?
Yes.
You need to push past that point.
Because the whole point is we think Marcus Freeman can take Notre Dame to that next step. Well, the next step is winning a semifinal game. It's not necessarily winning the national championship. We think that can happen too, but you got to at least win a semifinal game, right? So making the semifinal game is all well and good, but if you get smoked in the Final Four, that's a very disappointing ending to that season. Now, if you win that game, now you're in the national championship. We can have the conversation about what a great season it was and how it's a step in the right direction, and let's see what happens next year, et cetera, et cetera. Now, nobody wants to sit through that blowout, especially if you're a fan of the team that's getting blown out. Exactly. Nobody. And that's going to leave a sour taste in your mouth. But once you get a little bit further removed from it, I'm trying to think of if Notre Dame was in TCU's shoes, right? You get a little bit further away from it. You got a lot to celebrate about that season.
And let's be honest, because it's TCU, nobody's going to care, right? It's
right.
Like, absolutely. They kind of eat some humble pie for a couple of days, but it's like Georgia is just that good, which when you look at the fact that it's been more than a calendar year since they've lost, what is it, 15 straight this year, plus 2 straight national championships and all that. And like, it's a loaded Georgia team, by the way. They lost, I think it was like, wasn't it like 15 or 16 guys to the NFL last year? They had a bunch of underclassmen playing this year who are all going to be back next year. So like, that problem ain't going away anytime soon. So if it does end up being Notre Dame and you get there, I realize that sort of philosophies may vary. First and foremost, I said this after the last time they got their butt kicked in the semifinal by Alabama. You don't have a chance to win the championship unless you're in the playoffs. Sure. So if it turns out that you get smoked even in a semifinal, at least you're in the playoff. There are a lot of other teams who would have liked to be there. Now, because you're Notre Dame, and this was my point with TCU, like it'll pass for TCU because they'll still remember this in a year, 5 years, 10 years. This is still going to be a generational season, and finishing as the national runner-up is still going to be great for TCU because it's going to be, now they're going to have some opportunities probably to do it again, considering Texas and Oklahoma are leaving the Big 12. But at the same time, my point is for TCU, it's still a great thing. If you're Notre Dame, you're going to eat it a lot more because we all know that people love to hate Notre Dame and the lightning rod and the whole thing. So like even during the championship game the other night when they brought up, well, Notre Dame doesn't, or what was it? This is, taking on the feel of the Notre Dame or something like
they brought it up, even though it was 10 years ago, 11 years ago or whatever, 10 years ago. Right. They brought it up.
And that's my point. Because it's Notre Dame, people will still talk about it years from now. And that's Notre Dame does need to get past that stigma. So like just what you said, if they can at least win a semifinal and then maybe you lose a lopsided game in the national championship, I would definitely take that, getting to the national championship.
Yes, I would too, because there's a lot of spin, and it wouldn't even be spin. It would be reality that they've taken a step that they hadn't taken before. If they win that semifinal game, Notre Dame's never won a semifinal game. And frankly, they haven't been close. Right. So if they can win that, And yes, if they get smoked in the finals, okay, would suck, would be horrible, be the worst post-game show ever, but it would still, like
You'd
I
still
said,
be there.
you're still there. You're still in the championship. So, and it would be even better than 2012 because you didn't have to win a semifinal game to get there. You were automatically just put in that game based on what you did in the regular season, but you were put in that game. I feel like now, at least in the Final Four, you have to earn it. You have to earn a trip to the finals.
Yeah. And you're going to have to earn it even more when it expands.
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
no doubt. Playoffs in December in South Bend. Let's go.
Okay, Vince. So we've heard that Notre Dame needs to upgrade the Goog, in facilities for football. It's stuff that's been, and obviously Brian Kelly, wanted the personal chefs and, whatever over there. My question is, considering the current climate with NIL, the proliferation of NIL, is the money better spent on facility upgrades, NIL, or even something else beyond that? Like if you're able to come up with that kind of millions of dollars, what is it best spent on right now?
I think because I just don't see Notre Dame jumping in the deep end with NIL. I just don't see it, right? They've got the money to do it if they wanted to, but I just don't see them doing it. And I think that's the reality that we have to live in. So maybe this is a cop-out answer, but I think because of that, you dump it all into facilities and you dump it all into, making the Notre Dame athletic facilities top-notch. I really do. I think they are lacking. I mean, when I was sitting around over Christmas break and I was watching, Dion take his tour of Colorado, and they were in the football facility and they went into the training facility, and I was like, that's better than Notre Dame's. Like, they got some serious stuff going on there. The locker room is beautiful. Like, you can't be trailing Colorado. You know what I mean? You've got to upgrade the facilities and continue to upgrade the facilities. Now, I'm not saying that, Notre Dame players are going on, into the high school training room or whatever. I mean, their facilities are nice, but they're trailing a lot of schools out there, and they need to step it up.
The problem is with facilities, just as we found out when they've made upgrades in the past, as soon as you build these things, they become outdated very quickly.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And so it's kind of you're always on the hamster wheel trying to improve the facilities. And like you said, they're not going to be necessarily upfront with the NFL or with the NIL, but that doesn't mean you can't have a specific NIL fund, just like there are NIL opportunities like we've talked about. That doesn't mean you can't still have a fund that says, look, we're not giving you a dime up front, but we've got, there are all these different schools right now. Like Indiana even has, like,
well, they do have that. It's the fund by Brady Quinn. I mean, they do have that.
Well, but it's different. And I'm saying you can't, too much is never enough, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe there's something there already, but you can never have enough is what I'm saying.
Well,
and
they need
because
to,
again, even though you're not going to give anything up front, you can say, hey, look, we've got this sitting here.
They need to publicize the fund, the fund. That's what it's called. FUND. They need to publicize it and say to donors, hey, if you want to donate, go to this. Like, they've already said that they endorse it or whatever, but be public about it. Like, hey, go ahead and do this. And then that thing can just explode. And then you don't even have to worry about it. It's not even a university funded thing. It's obviously done by donors and all that. They need to publicize that. If they publicize that, then they're going to be fine.
I saw Nate Laszewski and Cormac Ryan doing a commercial on TV.
Really?
The other night. Yeah.
Wow. What was it for?
It was
a lot of jokes.
It was a local car wash establishment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I thought that was interesting. That was the first time I had seen that commercial. So like, there's an opportunity that's there. But like, we heard that Michael Mayer was pretty well taken care of in terms of NIL this year, but like, what was he doing? Like it feels like, do they not want to publicize that because they, like, is there kind of a tug of war in terms of, like, it's there, but we don't really want to you would think that they would want to publicize it so that word like that gets to recruits. So recruits know, it's there. There's still a lot there for me. That kind of thing. Like, but it feels like there are athletes who are in on NIL, but it's not necessarily very well publicized.
Yeah,
the
agreed.
fact that they're getting it.
Agreed. I mean, they publicize it to the athletes that they want,
Yeah.
but it's not publicized to like us at all. And I know like Shawn and Brian, I think they have a better idea of what kids are making and what they're doing, but you and I have no idea, and most of the people in the chat have no idea. And I know these guys are getting compensated. I know they're making money. I have no idea. I could not even logistically put a number to it because I don't know. I don't know. So it's just not, you're right. It is not out there publicly. And I feel like it would not hurt them to do that.
I agree. So Kirk Herbstreit says he expects Penn State to be a regular in the playoffs once the field expands to 12 teams. Which team are you more confident will be in the playoffs more regularly, Penn State or Southern Cal?
That's easy. Southern Cal, because Southern Cal has an opportunity to be the best or at worst the second best team in the Pac-12 every year. I don't know that Penn State's ever going to be better than the third best team in the Big Ten. And consistently having 3 Big Ten teams in the 12-team playoff, I think it's going to be difficult. I mean, maybe that happens every year. Maybe I'm mistaken. But I think 3 teams from the Big Ten every year is going to be really, really difficult. And if you compare it to USC, I think they're going to have an opportunity to either win their conference or be the second team almost every year. And I think that's a better avenue to get in than being the third best team in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, 3 from the Big Ten is going to be tough, especially when you're going to be battling with 3 to 4 from the SEC on any given year. I mean, that's 7 out of 12 spots right there potentially, and you still have to have the automatic bids for the conference champions and all that stuff. So it's like, I don't know if he was accounting for the fact that USC was going to be coming in, and that's why I asked the question between USC and Penn State, but I tend to agree with you. I think the recruiting is going to be better. I think they've got a better coach at USC. So I think that USC moving to the Big Ten is going to be the more regular as well. And what's going to happen with Michigan is largely going to depend on what happens with Jim Harbaugh. Does he end up staying there? Does he go to the NFL?
Oh, yeah, good point.
There's all these NFL teams
want
him right now.
And
or at least they're interviewing him.
God's thumb says, look how highly they regarded Penn State this year. Yeah, they did. But who was regarded higher? USC. And the question was Penn State or USC?
Well, see, the thing with Penn State is, they win all their games with the exception of Michigan and Ohio State. So, like, if you're playing in the Big Ten and those are the games that you're losing regularly.
That's a good point. That's a really good point by Josh.
No, USC won't be, and that's what I was saying. USC,
Fair enough. I didn't even think about that, so that's on me, Josh. You are 100% right. I'm sure that's why he said USC or Penn State, because they're going to be in the same conference.
Exactly.
So my answer doesn't even make sense, and that's awesome.
But I still think USC is going to recruit better and have a better coach, and I think that they'll have a better chance.
I agree.
And again, if Penn State is losing to Ohio State and Michigan every year, once it expands, I think that gets held against them. You're going to have to start winning one of those games at some point.
Yeah.
Especially when you're adding USC to them, and you're going to have to play, the conference is going to be so big, who knows who's going to be playing who year in and year out.
For
but
sure.
If they go to one, conference and you're rotating opponents and all that kind of stuff, they probably won't be playing Ohio State and Michigan every year.
Right.
So maybe that helps them out. But I still think USC has the better chance as well.
I do too. I just think they're going to be better at recruiting, and from a head-to-head matchup, I just think USC. And plus, USC is going to get a lot of love from people because of where they are, who their head coach is. I mean, yes, the committee gave a lot of love to Penn State. I get that. Just wait. Just wait for how much love USC is going to get when they're in the Big Ten.
People like that LA glitz and all that stuff, and they like the kind of the reemergence of USC.
That's a thing.
A long way.
It's a thing.
Yep. I'll be curious to see kind of like how playing a couple November games a year out in this part of the country. They'll get to host some games as well, but They're going to have to come
Not
out
all
here.
of them.
They're going to
Not
have to come
all
out
of them.
here. That's right. They're going to have to play at least 2 games a year, I
Yeah.
would think, out here in the Midwest someplace.
I wouldn't mind one of those games being in South Bend, by the way, but we'll see.
You know what? I'm going to save this NFL question for Friday when Jesse was with us, since we still have a slew of other topics that are starred up here that I think are good topics. One of the things that people want to talk about is the Under Armour contract and whether or not Notre Dame will stick with Under Armour long term. And another question from Shawn: with the Under Armour contract set to expire after 24, which brand do you like them to get a deal with, and which one do you think they end up with? Big deal for recruits.
Number one, I don't think
I'm just going to go New Balance. I'm going to push all my money in on New Balance.
Just bought some New Balance the other day.
I'm kidding.
My son told me that they were in, so I bought some.
New Balance baseball shoes are good shoes.
They are.
But other than that, yeah.
Number one, I don't think it's a big deal for recruits. I think people make a bigger deal out of that than it really is. And that's my opinion. That's what I think. That's one of the, if you're ranking in order the importance of why a kid goes to a school, I just don't see, well, they're a Nike school, I'm going there. Like, I just don't think that's really a thing.
Like, I think that if you're going to, more like a mid-tier school, and one is Adidas and one is Nike, as popular as Nike can be, or one is Under Armour and one is Nike, maybe that has more sway there. Yeah. But I agree. Is it a factor to at least some extent?
Sure.
It probably is. But I think that winning championships, chance to get to the NFL, those, and in depending on what school you're talking about, the education as well, I think that those are all bigger factors than what brand your team is wearing.
100%. So that's that part of the question. Where do I think they're going to go? I mean, if they go away from Under Armour, they got 2 options. It's Adidas or Nike. Nike obviously has a big corner on the market, as opposed to Adidas. Adidas is a small fish compared to Nike. So, I mean, I guess if you're playing the odds, you would say Nike. I know that that's going to tick off a lot of people. I'm not saying that's my preference. My preference is, though, that they do not do the Jumpman brand. I would be very upset if they go to the Jumpman brand. I think that's ridiculous that the Jumpman brand is a football brand. It's a basketball brand. That if it's going to be Nike, so be it, whatever. It doesn't bother me. I know it bothers a lot of other people, but I really don't want them to go with the Jumpman brand.
Yeah. It's funny. We're talking about this because, like Steve said, recruits don't give a darn what they wear, especially now with NIL. I think, and you were talking about Deion Sanders. I think Deion and his son have, like, his son has an NIL deal, I believe, with one shoe company that is opposite of whatever Colorado's shoe company.
I think Colorado's Nike. I think
you're right. Look, I realize people have anti-Nike stuff, and that's that's your prerogative.
Yep.
That's fine. But younger kids, high percentage of them tend to love the Nike.
They do.
And I can tell you this, like the Under Armour stuff itself, I like the Under Armour apparel, and there are even some Under Armour shoes that look good. But I can tell you that many of the players at Notre Dame do not like the Under Armour shoes at all. Like the actual, not just the look of the shoes, but like the comfort of the shoes, the way they actually feel when you have to play. And that is the biggest deal to me, is, are they actually functional shoes? And I think that has to be considered in all this.
Sure.
I don't know how much that matters, like to the people, one of the things that Jack Swarbrick talked about when they did this deal with Under Armour was all this performance tech and, all these, different things that were supposed to help the Notre Dame athletes. The shoes are not good shoes. I'm sorry. I have firsthand information on what the people who actually wear the shoes think about the shoes. They don't like,
and you're not just talking about football, I would imagine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that goes a long way. Like, I think you need to, if you're going to do this right, I think you need to have a representative from all the sports, at least one, and you need to talk to them about it. Now,
Yeah.
is it all about the money? Money's going to be a big part of it. There's no doubt about that. I just, of all the, and I could really care less, to be honest with you, what brand Notre Dame goes with. Doesn't matter to me. I literally have all three major brands in my closet. I do. But I can also tell you.
Me too, actually, now that you mention it.
See, there you go. So it doesn't matter to me. I just don't want them to go jump man. I just think it's stupid. I think it's ridiculous. And I get that that's their elite version of Nike, and that's who they want Notre Dame to be. I just don't like it. I think it's stupid. But, I know kids like Nike. That when I got new uniforms for my baseball team, and I got Nike hats, and I got Nike, uniforms, they were fired up because it was Nike. It was name brand.
Personally, I think Adidas has a lot of good stuff. I don't know if they would go back to Adidas after leaving Adidas last time, but Adidas was actually, I've had this conversation with some people as well. Like, Adidas was getting some really, good looking shoes when Notre Dame decided to go
away
to Under Armour, and, we've talked about the uniforms as well, and that's part of this deal as well, because they're providing the uniforms, and people were asking who decides on the color of the pants and all that stuff. And I don't know exactly where that comes from, like the mustard pants and all that, but the blue number on green jerseys that they wore as the alternate this year has got to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it needs to be a gold/yellow, whatever, on a green jersey, and that's part of the apparel as well. But
yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know where they'll go. Money is obviously going to play a big part in this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the whole decision is going to come down to money or not, or like you said, if they actually go to the people who have to wear the shoes and uniforms and stuff.
You
would
like think they would do that. That would make sense to me, but who knows?
Yeah. Another basketball question from Decaf 18. What are the chances we see a change at head coach for the men's basketball program? I mean,
if a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 2, because I don't think he's leaving unless he decides he's leaving. I think it's just gotten to that point with Notre Dame. It was kind of to that point with Brian Kelly. He wasn't going to leave until he decided he was time for him to leave. Now, I think we're all, most people are happy that he did, but
again, I think money's going to talk, because I think was it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was when Jesse and I were on here. It was about 10 years ago, before the 2 runs to the Elite 8. And there were some people I knew who were connected, and there was kind of a fire. I don't know if there was necessarily a fire put to Mike Brey, but the conversation was going on that men's basketball needed to be much more of a revenue generator than what it was. And now when you get to the Elite 8, that, especially in back-to-back years, that buys you a lot of time. But we're like 5 or 6 years later now, and
it's
with a season like this, we're seeing much declining attendance. They never have a good non-conference home schedule, to begin with. And so then when you get to the ACC and you're playing like this, the place was half full last night for a 1-point win over the next worst team in the ACC,
who hadn't won in Notre Dame since 1990.
Yeah. I just think money's going to talk at some point. If they decide that they're past the point where, like, again, like men's basketball, they charge a pretty premium price for those tickets still. And if you want to sell those tickets and actually make money on that thing, you got to put some butts in the seat. And at some point, I think that's going to start talking. So I don't know if how close they are to that point yet, but they're obviously, we hear from the fans, there are a lot of people who are fed up and frustrated with it right now.
And men's tickets are not tough to get. They're giving them away, folks. Giving them away.
Yep. That is right. From Shannon, with college baseball right around the corner, do you see the Irish taking another special run to the College World Series, or will they take a step back? There's a lot of talent. I think keeping Findlay on the pitching staff was good. A really big move. He was a freshman All-American last year, and they've got, a couple, they lost some guys, but they've got some key pieces back. What the previous coach did was it was like he had such a specific plan. And that was, I mean, he was a special coach, I think, Link Jarrett, and that's why he ended up with that job at Florida State. And to go from a program that wasn't even making the NCAA tournament prior to him getting here to super regional and one win away from the World Series in his first, his first NCAA tournament because COVID canceled the first season, and then getting to the College World Series in year 2. I want to see what this new coach, Shawn Stiffler, is all about. Like talking to him after he got the job, there's some specifics to the way he does things as well. And I like, a lot of the things that he's talking about in terms of, being able to manufacture runs and, aggression. And there's some similarities, I think, to Link Jarrett. But I think at the very least, if you're in the NCAA tournament, I realize, everyone wants to get to the College World Series, but get back to the tournament this year, see what this guy is all about, because the ACC is still tough year in and year out. We found that out for a lot of years before Link Jarrett showed up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it has every possibility of being special, but again, it's difficult to recreate kind of what they had going last year. I mean, that's not an easy thing to recreate, and you're going to have to give Coach Stiffler some time to get his feet underneath him. I realize there's going to be a lot of expectations because there's a lot of talent, but it's going to take a minute. I mean, now they've got a very, very favorable schedule, I think, in the preseason and moving forward. They don't go to Texas or anything.
They play a lot of 3 games. I was looking at their schedule. They play like a lot of 3-game series. And look, it's the coach's prerogative how he wants to set up the scheduling. But, like one of the things that when Maneri was here that he used to tell me is like, they would go south. They wouldn't play a 3-game series like that because for RPI credits and stuff like that, if you win one game and then, lose one, it's obviously a split, but you still get some credit for RPI. But if you lose 2 out of 3, you don't get any credit for that one win. So you've got to make sure you win all those series when you go south like that. And so it's going to be really interesting to see, again, a team from the north go down there, play some of these southern schools right away who have been able to get outside and practice and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, everything about Shawn Stiffler says he's a good coach too. That's why they hired him. I like, just like Link Jarrett, you can kind of see some no nonsense with him, but he's got a very, specific approach as well. And he's just got to implement his system now. But, again, like part of what made Link Jarrett so good was he had a very specific system, and that's what got him there. So will there be, any drop off or any, sort of adjustment period for some of these guys to get used to some of that kind of stuff?
Some very interesting midweek games as I'm trifling through the schedule here. It's going to be like they play home and away with Michigan State, but the home game is April 11th and the away game is April 25th. So it's separated by like 2 weeks. And that leads right into the return with Florida State coming to Frank Eck Stadium on the 28th of April. So we need to figure out how we can call some of these games. That's what needs to happen. I'll just say it.
Stiffler was from VCU is where he came from. VCU, Virginia Commonwealth. So had a lot of success down there as well. Salty, true or false? Notre Dame's in-stadium concessions should sell beer at games. Now, it doesn't affect us one way or the other because we can't be there, but there are enough other places selling beer right now. I say, why not? You're getting loaded when you're tailgating in the parking lot.
And they do it for the concerts.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not like they haven't done it in Notre Dame Stadium. They just don't do it for the game, which at this point, I think is ridiculous. I mean, at this,
well, look,
come on.
With technology, it seems like there's an easy solution to this. Like you get your ticket, and obviously, if you're of age, they scan your ticket from your phone. Like in that barcode there, you could put like a limit of like 3 to 4 beverages. So like every time you go buy a beverage, you've got to have your phone scanned.
Sure,
you know what I mean. So like
ticket.
Right, so that at least you're saying, okay, we'll sell it, but we're not just going to let people get sloppy in here. That kind of thing. So
I'd be fine with it.
I say why not?
And I just don't. Yes, you're going to have some.
I mean, they did it for for the Winter Classic game
Yeah.
a few years ago.
Yep.
Even though they ran out.
You're not going to have – look, if somebody wants to get sloppy, they're going to be sloppy when they walk in the stadium already. I mean, it just – I don't know what they're trying to prevent, I guess is my point.
Right.
I spent a lot of time in the student
Because,
section
again,
at Notre Dame
you're allowing
Stadium.
everyone to stay out there in that parking lot as long as they want, especially if it's a night game, and drink and do as many. Like, there are times some of those night games, man, it's like I'm walking in and there are already people, who need some help off the ground.
Yep. I spent 2 years in the student section at Notre Dame, and plenty of people were imbibing, you know what I mean? And so that not having it in the stadium is just like, I don't know. It's just a lost opportunity, lost revenue stream, really.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Eric. Thanks for being here on your birthday. Glad to have you. Milton, I just saw a super chat from Milton come in. Saban's face to Pollock's comment made you feel.
I'll let you answer this one because I haven't seen it.
We talked about this last night. Milton wasn't here. It was priceless, man. Like,
because I know he said something about Georgia's running the show or something like that.
Yeah. And Saban's sitting 2 feet from him. And I thought the fact that Pollock was willing to say it with Nick Saban sitting right there. And Jesse last night went on and on about all the success that Nick Saban's had. And obviously he's had a lot of success.
Of course.
But Georgia's won 2 national championships now. They were 1.5 away from finish off their second straight national championship. Right now, Georgia is running the sport. Now, probably lit a fire that the rest of the college football world doesn't need under Nick Saban, but Saban's face, man, it was one to behold. I think you need to Google that.
Okay.
And,
I've heard a lot about it
because Nick Saban was not you could tell he wasn't very happy to hear it. I was really surprised that he kind of stayed as silent as he did and not respond to it. But really, what was he going to say at that point? Because again, Georgia's won 2 in a row now, and he lost in the last one to him. So.
And Pollock's a Georgia grad. I mean, of course he's going to be all hopped up and excited, and he's only going to be so professional, okay? But nothing he said, from what I understand, is wrong. They won 2 back-to-back national championships. That hasn't happened in a while, and touche to them. And it wasn't close. That game was over. I saw a video of Georgia players eating hot wings on the sideline, during the game. It's like, yep, that game was over. That game was over.
They need to sell beer down on the sidelines.
Seriously.
Tyler wants to know what I think about the Cowboys' chances to beat Tom Brady and the Bucs, scale of 1 to 10. I'm at least encouraged right now because there was news today that some key injured guys, Tyler Biadasz, the center, who's been out a little bit, and Leighton Vander Esch, who's been out even longer, the middle linebacker, they're at least practicing this week, so they could be back for Monday night. And the thing with Biadasz is, and I don't want to go into a whole bunch of detail and make a bunch of excuses, but with him being out, they put a backup center in, and they've essentially tried to keep their remaining best 5 offensive linemen, but they've had to play, like the shell game. Like Zach Martin is the only guy at right guard who has stayed in place. They've flip-flopped all these other guys around, so the line has, not been optimal because of that. And again, I'm not trying to make a bunch of excuses, but I'll just say 6. I think they've at least got a little bit, but they're a better team, but it's still Tom Brady. They're a better team that's not playing like a better team right now, and they got to go on the road and play Tom Brady. So I'll give them a little bit better than average, but to be quite honest, I hope my wife sets up a concession stand in the living room and sells me cocktails Monday night, because I'm probably going to need it to keep myself medicated.
I give it a 7. Go Cowboys.
Okay. You're a little bit higher.
I am, because I think I know we've probably said this in the past and it hasn't been the playoffs, but I just feel like Tom Brady might have hit his peak at this point. I mean, he has looked his age, or at least older, over this whole season. And I realize he's got a lot of crap going on off the field, and that definitely takes a toll. And I realize he'll game it up when it's the playoffs. But I just feel like the Cowboys, this is their time. This is their opportunity, at least versus the Buccaneers.
Yeah. And, Mike saying, Robert Hainsey playing for playing for the Buccaneers
Yeah.
at center this year. Hope he has improved. And, I don't know. Like, the thing with the Buccaneers is they can make you play ugly, and they'll make you play ugly for a full game. And then with about 4 minutes to go, Tom Brady gets the ball in his hands. Now they're 7-9. So it's not exactly like they've lit the world on fire by any means. But Dallas has played ugly, and Tampa can make you play ugly. And Tampa has Tom Brady, whether he looks, and I agree, he looks like he's on his last legs. But, like if it came down to 2 minutes between Dak and Brady, I would take Brady. So, champion or starter? Super chat from God's Thumbs 22. I'm assuming he's talking about a
like apparel.
You like apparel type stuff. I guess I'd go with champion. They're both very 80s at this point. So yes, I don't think anyone probably wants anything to do with either of those brands.
Yeah, I mean, I like starter. I had a starter jacket when I was in middle school, so I'll go with starter just to be different.
Yeah. I always thought, I had a couple champion sweatshirts.
Sure, because that was Notre Dame's brand, right?
Yeah.
So, exactly. I mean, I had that stuff when I was growing up, no doubt about it, until they switched to Adidas.
Salty, blackboard or whiteboard?
I mean, does he mean like in the classroom or?
I think like, do you call it a blackboard or a whiteboard? They're all pretty much whiteboards these days, aren't they?
Well, I had a blackboard in my room. What was that? That was when I was at Clay High School, so it wasn't that long ago. 6-7 years ago, I had a blackboard because the new whiteboard that they just drilled in over the blackboard wasn't long enough. So I had like 2 hanging areas of blackboard. But yeah, it was. Let's see. I just call it the board. I don't really call it white or black.
I think John's right. Starter's probably more popular in the 90s, but I remember they were kind of getting started in the late 80s still. That's kind of what I like coming out of high school and into college. That's kind of what I associate the starter brand. With. Like that's when
middle school for me was middle 90s.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, wasn't there a starter jacket that showed up in Rudy that was like kind of out of place?
It was, like 100% out of place. It was when
dated, like
he was looking for tickets on the outside of the stadium, and there was a kid wearing a starter jacket. I was like,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And to tell you what, we've talked about this before. I think we're going to have to line up like a series of movies for the summer, and this is the 30th anniversary of Rudy coming out.
Shut up! Is it that old?
It is.
Wow.
So we're gonna have to do a Rudy podcast and probably like Friday Night Lights, and we can take some nominations for others.
Let's go.
We can do the movie podcast this summer since things will be a little bit later.
Those could be our Fridays potentially.
Love it. I love it. Although we might have to make Jesse watch things that he hasn't watched before.
Yeah, I think that's the ones we hit first.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, a lot of great questions tonight. Definitely appreciate it. Rudy 2 is coming soon. What would that even look like?
Him on his speaking engagements.
Here's my question. Do you know, did they film anything at Mishawaka?
I don't think so.
I was thinking like maybe some of the early, like the practice high school scenes might have been like, look like it could
have to go back and look.
Area.
I'm going to have to go back and look because I mean, I know everything about Mishawaka as far as, their what it looks like, right? So I'll have to go back and see. Now I got to go watch the movie. It's got to happen.
Like that hurts you.
I know.
All right, well, hit the like button if you would. I don't even think we asked anybody to hit the like button.
Do it
tonight. I'm going to be off tomorrow. There's going to be a show. I think Jesse and Ryan are doing a show tomorrow. I think there's going to be kind of some changes to Thursday because of my women's basketball schedule. I'm basically going to be gone every Thursday from now until basketball season ends.
Pretty much.
As women play on Thursdays.
Thursday, Sunday.
Yes. But we will be here on Friday at 5:00 for the special rapid fire with Vince and Jesse.
Boom.
And I. So,
boom.
And we've got, you know what, Salty? That's a good question. What kind of flicks hasn't Jesse seen? Like,
probably the older ones. I mean,
I guess I sort of assumed that Living with Me, he had seen more than he has seen, but like we were talking about, like he has not seen the Lethal Weapon movies, for example. And that baffled me that like he lives here but like he's seen Saving Private Ryan and Braveheart and
Okay.
those kind of things.
Okay.
But he hadn't seen the Lethal Weapons.
Huh.
So I don't know.
Has he seen Vision Quest?
I don't think he has.
See?
I know. It's a real ball drop on my part. All right. We will talk to you Friday. Appreciate you being here. And again, hit the like button, subscribe, rate, and review. We'll talk to you then. IB Nation Sports Talk.